Delta Ag, we've been in business since 1976. We started out doing soil testing and plant tissue testing. And to be really honest, after 7 or 8 years of that, we realized that a lot of the fertilizers we were putting out on these row crops, cotton, corn, beans, rice, wheat, we weren't getting response to them. So we developed this product line in an effort to try to find a way to make fertilizers work more efficiently. And that's really what Delta Ag is all about. We tell people we're really not in the fertilizer business. We're in the fertilizer response business, and we like to talk about crop response to nutrients versus nutrients by the pound, and that's really what Delta Ag's about. We developed what we call a complexer, if you will, called Fulvor years ago, like in the late 80s, and we found that with that material, we can get more nutrients into a plant with ease. And one thing led to another. Long and short of it is now we have a full-fledged product line that is micronutrients and secondary nutrients, products that are used as foliars. They're used in soil applications. But what we call our Cadillac products are our biostimulant products. And people say, well, what's a biostimulant? A biostimulant is just what it says. It's something that stimulates the biological processes in a plant. And we utilize amino acids, vitamins, enzymes, natural plant extracts in conjunction with this Fulvor and certain nutrients, depending on what we're trying to do. The nutrient and micronutrient products that we're talking about are really biostimulants in and of themselves. I think the important thing to remember is that each one of these products are formulated for the specific task at hand. In other words, when we build Zinc Plus, we're putting an enzyme and an amino acid chemistry in zinc in that formula that helps a plant to better respond to zinc. Same thing applies to our Calcium Plus, Nutri-K, any of those products. So when you look at Boron Plus and people say, well, you got a 4-ounce rate, that's not enough boron to do anything. That's true. What we're doing is helping that plant to take in more of the boron from the soil that it normally can't get. So each one of these nutrient and micronutrient products is formulated to enhance a plant's ability to take in and metabolize that nutrient. One of our Cadillac products is a product called Soil Solution. The idea behind that is that we're trying to help improve the environment of the soil. In a lot of cases in agriculture and even in gardens and in vegetable farms, people don't think a lot about their soil because they're focused on what they can see, which is the growing plant. The reality is what's really happening that's causing that plant to look like it looks is happening in the soil. And I use the expression a lot of times, a soil is alive, and people don't think about that, but a soil has to have bacteria, it's got to have algae, actinomycetes, and microhygia, fungus, mold. All these things make a soil what it is, and if a soil doesn't have all of these ingredients, these microflora we call them, then what you really got is dirt instead of soil. And so a soil has to be alive for a plant to be able to respond, take in those nutrients. All the time I get this question, what do you mean when you talk about the difference in soil and dirt? My best way of explaining it is with farmers. They go out in the spring of the year, ground's been laid all winter, you know, the residue, like the dry straw that's been dished in, all it's laying there all winter long. The bacteria count builds up. They go out and they break their ground. Some people laugh at me. Farmers understand this. There's nothing like the aroma of fresh, broke soil. I mean, it's got the most aromatic smell in the world. And what that is you're smelling all of that composting that's going on and all that bacteria that's being turned over and exposed when you disc that ground. You can take that same ground, go back 2 weeks later and disc it again, it won't have that aroma. And the reason is because you've killed off a lot of those bacteria. And so what I try to make people understand is that when I say the soil is alive, I mean it is literally full of living organisms. And when it starts losing that aroma and getting to where it won't hold moisture and it starts compacting behind rains or behind equipment, what you've got there is something that's a whole lot closer to dirt, which is your soil without bacterial activity, than a soil that's mellow, well aerated. It's like a sponge, holds plenty of moisture, It's full of bacterial activity. The most important thing and the most valuable thing that that guy has is that soil. And a lot of times it's neglected because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind, if that makes any sense. And we start out by using Soil Solution, which is a product that's designed to bring that microflora back to it. Basically, we're feeding the bacteria in the soil rather than feeding the plant. If we take care of the soil, then the soil will take care of the plant. So we start out with what we call a three-step approach: soil, seed, and plant. And Soil Solution is the first of those. That's one of our 3 biostimulants. The other one is Delta Ag Seed Coat, which a lot of people are now beginning to learn about, and it's a dry seed treatment. All we do with that product is we're really getting a ride into the soil so we can impact the rhizosphere, which is the area immediately adjacent to the seed, so we can form microhyza that much quicker. Microhyza is what's needed. It's like a symbiotic relationship between fungus and roots. And if you've got more of them, then you can take in more nutrients, convert them to available forms, and get them translocated through the plant. So with Seed Coat, all we're doing is trying to give that seed as healthy an environment as we can for the conditions that are present. The reality is the more adversity you have, the more you need Delta Ag Seed Coat. If the conditions are good and you've got good soil to seed contact, and you've got good moisture and good temperature, if Mother Nature's at her best, you're not going to see anything out of it. In my world, in the ag world, we rarely see what we call ideal conditions, and so we developed that product to simply help get the seed up, out of the ground, and growing. The third of the 3 biostimulants is Plant Power. That product is a product that is loaded up with specific vitamins and amino acids. It doesn't have as much of the enzyme chemistry as the Soil Solution, but it's a different chemistry, and the whole idea behind it is to try to boost the energy level of the plant so the plant can go ahead and do more of what it wants to do anyway. If a plant is growing, it's going to help it to grow more, faster, quicker, healthier. If it's fruiting, it's going to make it fruit more. So, you know, our whole deal is we call it, for lack of a better term, we call it the forage maker system. And the idea there is treat your soil, treat your seed, and treat your plant. If you improve your soil environment, then your seed has a better chance anyway. Then you impact the seed to get it up and growing. And then you hit it with the Plant Power after it comes out of the ground. And the whole idea is you're building your potential for a better crop from the ground up. The key to any plant's life is from the time that seed swells and sprouts until usually 2 or 3 weeks after it emerges out of the ground. Any plant is going to basically determine its genetic potential to be productive in the first 2 or 3 weeks of its life. If you can create a good soil environment and then get your seed up and growing quicker, where it'll come out of the ground without stress, without that compacted hard soil that's got to push through, so that seed can come up and continue to grow, you're going to have a healthier plant. Most of the time, seed swells, it uses up a bunch of energy when it's pushing to get out of the ground. That energy comes from that seed embryo. After it gets out of the ground, it's got to stop, rest, regroup, try to develop some roots to start taking in moisture and nutrients with 2 little cotyledons or primary leaves, and it's going to go through what we call a lag phase. When it's in that lag phase, it's susceptible to heavy grazing, foraging as some of you guys call it. It's also susceptible to cold nights. It's susceptible to disease. If you can get it through that lag phase without letting it lag, then you've got a better root system, a healthier, more vigorous growing plant, and it's going to be more productive every time. So that's the reason that we put so much emphasis on Soil Solution, followed by Seed Coat on the seed when you plant to help push it up and through that lag phase. And as soon as it gets through that lag phase, you hit it with the Plant Power to go ahead and put down new roots and more shoot. So everything we do is focused on pushing it in that first 2 or 3 weeks of its life. And that's where we get a lot of our results. Once you get that edge, so to speak, with a better, healthier plant early, then a plant that's suffered and stressed will never catch up with it no matter what the weather does, because you've got that jump. One of the most important things to remember is that a seed really only has one function, and that's to reproduce itself. And when that seed comes out of the ground and that seedling becomes stressed, think of it as a plant like having its own brain, and it realizes it's in trouble. It's going to try to hurry up and go reproductive to try to produce whatever seed it can at that time, because it knows it's stressed and it's got that one function in mind: I got to reproduce my seed. With stress, you produce seed early before the plant has the foundation to support a lot of seed, so you end up with less seed, which is a reduced yield. And that's one of the things we place a lot of emphasis on. We're trying to make sure that that young seedling crop doesn't feel stressed until it gets up past a certain point, so that when it becomes reproductive, it can support more seed. Really, that's the whole story. It took a lot of years to develop the products. Fortunately for us, we've got farmers all over the southeastern United States and up in the Midwest, Canada and Mexico now, that are using these products and using them you know, on a daily basis on all of their different crops, from cotton and corn and soybeans to vegetables, tomato growers. I mean, a lot of different people are using them. The reality is that the Delta Ag products just make your job a whole lot easier, and it reduces your risk.